Hello, and welcome to my empty house. Normally, people give empty house tours before they move in, but I figured we'd do one before I move away. And as I show you the upgrades and secrets of my home, I'll also shed some light into why schools ask you to waive your FERPA rights and why I did not waive mine. Stick around to the end to hear what I saw in my application file. So this is the front door to our house, and I found the perfect shoe mat. It's perfect for Asian households, so you don't have to tell all your guests to take off their shoes. So when you first walk into the house, you walk right into an open concept living space featuring the living room, the dining area, and the kitchen. There are plenty of windows, and we get a ton of natural light here. I added this film to the windows on the door because before it was perfectly clear and inconveniently eye level, and anyone could just peer into our house, which is definitely too creepy for me. So if you look around at the house, you can notice all the finishes are white, and I guess I'm pretty basic because I like simple, classic, timeless white finishes. It makes the kitchen and bathrooms look very clean and gives me the opportunity to add color in other ways. Like you can see my Samsung fridge in the back corner has the colorful panels, and we like to change them out for the season or for the holidays, or if I'm just feeling a different color that day. Now, speaking of color, when I wrote my application, I wanted my recommenders to be able to add as much color to my application as possible. I wanted my application to be a nice, solid base for the admissions committee to read and understand who I am. So when the admissions committee got around to reading what my recommenders wrote, they would get a better idea of how others saw me. Most, if not all, schools for both undergrad and graduate school applications ask you to waive your right to read your rec letters, also known as waiving your FERPA rights. FERPA as in FERPA. But what even are FERPA rights? So, FERPA, which stands for the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, is a federal law that protects the privacy of student education records and grants specific rights to parents and students. The main FERPA rights are the right to inspect and review education records, the right to request amendment of records, the right to consent to disclosures, the right to file a complaint, and the right to be informed. When you apply to colleges or graduate schools, you're often asked to waive your FERPA rights, specifically your right to view your letters of recommendation and certain admissions documents after enrollment. The reason why you're asked to waive these rights is so that the schools can tell your recommenders that you won't read their feedback, so your recommenders have the freedom to write as honestly as they want. Honestly, without furniture, the space looks way smaller than it felt when my furniture was still here. We had our couch and dining table. There are a ton of cabinets, drawers, and shelves, and we put shelf liners and drawer liners in basically everything. It took forever to cut them all to size, but I'm so glad we did because it keeps the shelves pristine and makes them easier to clean. Honestly, there's so much storage here, and we love our appliances. The dishwasher, range, and microwave came with the house, and when we closed on the house, the agent told us that our dishwasher is actually an upgraded version compared to the ones in the other houses in the neighborhood because they ran out of the original model at that time. We love that it has this little rack for utensils at the top, and it is the quietest dishwasher I have ever had. The backsplash we have is also so beautiful. When we first visited the house, they had these large square tiles. Honestly, they kind of looked like floor tiles as the backsplash, but they admitted it was the wrong finish for the house and asked if we wanted it changed. I immediately said yes, but it is a double edged sword because even though it looks more intentional and elevated, there's also a lot more grout. And grout absorbs oil, making it hard to clean. So, with a small tile, there is more grout surface area to clean and be cognizant of. Similarly, waiving or not waiving my FERPA rights is also a double edged sword. On one hand, the assumption is that if I waive it, my recommenders may be more truthful in their letters, giving my application more credibility and possibly positively affecting my admission odds. But how would I know if I'm never able to actually read their feedback? And on the other hand, if I chose not to waive it,
I'd be privy to what was written about me, but I risked the school thinking I over-engineered or influenced my rec letters. I ultimately chose not to waive my FERPA rights. I barely had enough time to write my own essays, and there's no way I could have micromanaged how my rec letters were written. Plus, I remembered when I applied to undergrad, I waived my rights for all the schools I applied to, but I remember being curious about what was in my application file. And I will say for both HBS and for Wharton, they assure you that your choice to waive or not to waive does not affect your admission decision, but most applicants do choose to waive their FERPA rights. I think there's a little bit of psychological play here, otherwise schools would not ask you to waive them in the first place, but that's just my 2 cents.
Stairs are like a haiku because you got 5 steps, and then you got 7 steps. And guess how many steps there are here? Another 5 steps.
So it turns out you cannot request to view your application file unless you register at the school. So in the case of my curiosity about my undergraduate college applications, I would have only gotten to see one. So I don't know what's in my file for Wharton, and I had to wait a little while to read my application file for Harvard Business School, but I finally got access to it after paying the tuition deposit. When they emailed it to me, I immediately read my recommendation letters from my leader and my mentor at my former company. I was so impressed and touched by their comments. One of my top love languages is words of affirmation, and this was basically 8 pages of affirmation. Like I mentioned before, the rec letters are meant to color your application and verify that what you said about yourself is consistent with what others say about you. Although I didn't have enough time to give them more than my resume and 2 previous years' performance reviews, their comments and evaluation of my character blew me away. They did such a good job articulating my characteristics and highlighting my technical acumen. It made me feel warm and fuzzy and sad to read their comments. Sad because I'm leaving such an amazing company full of incredibly kind, wicked smart, and selfless people. Fun fact, we have 50% more fans in our house than any other house in the neighborhood, I think. A neighbor was getting rid of his and asked if we wanted it. Sadly, we put it up only recently, so none of our former guests really got to enjoy this fan in the guest room. But now we have one more fan than any other house in the neighborhood, and that has to be a good perk, right? We also installed this little cat door in our laundry room. Blue and Belle's litter box was in that room. Before, we just had the door cracked so the cats could always access their toilet, but it was kind of annoying to have it open while the laundry machines were running, so we cut a hole in our door and we love it. The little doorknob works and even has a doorbell and lanterns. I planned to add little Christmas wreath on top for the holidays, but alas, I never got around to it. So the main reason I waived my FERPA rights is so that I could see the notes from the admissions committee on my application. Unfortunately, I think the AdCom knows this and does not want HBS admission to be a checklist or formulaic or, published somewhere. So they told me they deleted all the notes associated with my file. Do I really think they tossed them? But it is what it is. A little disappointing, but hey, I got 8 pages of words of affirmation already. So this concludes the tour of my empty house. I'm going to miss it so much. We've made so many memories here. If you're applying this round, do whatever you want to maximize your chances of admission. I thought of my decision not to waive my rights as more of an experiment rather than anything too serious, but all applicants should do what they feel most convicted of doing. If you enjoyed this video or thought it was insightful, please like and subscribe, and as always, feel free to drop any questions in the comments below. Until next time, bye guys!